Leeds United's 24-25 campaign in the Championship kicks off in just a few days against Portsmouth. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at what we think the starting lineup might be and what the starting lineup might be for the first couple of games before we bed in some potentially new signings. So before we get into it, make sure you hit that big button down below, as it really helps me out and shows me that people are enjoying the videos. So today we're going to have a look at the starting lineup. The first one is the goalkeeper. Obviously, for me, it has to be Meslier. Yes, Darlow has played a few minutes in pre-season. We've sent off Christopher Klaassen to Rocco in the Polish league. He is now gone. And we don't particularly have anyone who can come in and probably start games other than Meslier or Darlow. Yes, we've signed Alex Cairns, but he is there to be a third choice, a backup, almost an extra goalkeeper coach. So it's got to be Meslier for me. People have got their opinions on Meslier, but I think he's a good shot stopper for the age he is, the experience he has. He's a good goalkeeper. He's got good distribution, and I think he deserves to keep his spot in the team, especially after having a very good season last season. Right back, we're going to go for a new signing, Jayden Bogle. I think he has to start there. He's had the time in pre-season to play in these pre-season friendlies, and from what I've seen of him, he's gone past people, he's got to the byline, he's cut the ball back, he's overlapped when he should, and then dropped back when he shouldn't, drop back when he should as well. Drop back when he shouldn't go forward. He knows when and when not to go. He knows how to defend 1v1. He's decent. He's bedded in now, and I think he's the clear shout for that right back role. The two centre backs then, it has to be for me Rodon and Strauch. Whilst yes, we have got Max Werber, who's played in the Bundesliga last season and played for Austria at the Euros, where Austria did very well. He doesn't necessarily start for me yet. Not even in terms of trying to sort of make amends for what he did in terms of saying he would stay and then leaving. But I think Pascal Strauch and Joe Rodon have already got that kind of relationship where you know that they're going to be decent together. The one thing that I worry about a little bit with those two is balls over the top. If you want more detail on that, go and watch my video from yesterday talking about that. But Rodon and Strauch, I think they're a good partnership. I think they cover each other well most of the time. Decent in the air, both of them, at getting the ball away, and decent passing along the ground. I would like to see a little bit of an improvement from Joe Rodon's passing forward this season, but overall, very decent defenders, very decent centre-back pairing, and I think I'd be happy to keep those two, especially into the first few games of the season. Firpo next. Firpo at left-back, while Sam Byram has played in some pre-season games and, let's be honest, was really good last season, better than what we perhaps expected of him. Sam Byram, I think, should be on the bench, and I think you should have Junior Firpo starting in that left-back role. Again, similar to Jayden Bogle, he gets forward, he gets beyond the players, and when we're playing against a team like Portsmouth, like a lot of the teams we're going to come up against in the Championship, where, let's be honest, they are going to sit back, they are going to be quite a defensive unit against us, especially considering that they've just been promoted from League One. You've got to have players like Bogle and Firpo helping the attack, creating overloads down the left and right hand side, so that basically Portsmouth either have to drag all their players back and therefore they've got no attacking threat whatsoever, or if they don't, then you create overloads, you can create those overlaps, you can get the ball into the box, and with willing runners you can potentially score goals from that. So that's why Firpo and Bogle are in there, for those very attacking options. Perhaps if you're playing a better team, you might put Sam Byram in for a little bit of the defensive stability on that left hand side, but for the moment I think Bogle, Rodon, Strauch and Firpo should definitely be the starting defence. In midfield, I am going to be going for Ampadu and Gruev. Now, a lot of people will say, hold on a second, didn't I say and didn't everybody else say last season that Ampadu and Gruev shouldn't play together in the midfield because they're both similar players, they both sit quite deep, they don't really get forward. However, I have noticed a massive difference in this pre-season. Again, yesterday's video will explain more about this, but Gruev has been given the license to go forward now, and Ampadu also has been given the license to sit a lot higher up the pitch. Ampadu and Gruev in some of those pre-season games, especially in the first half early on, they were way high up the pitch, almost in the 2 number 10 roles, keeping the pressure high, making sure that if a ball comes back to them, they can recycle the possession without really giving the opposition a chance to get out of their own defence. So they're going to play higher, they're going to play more aggressively, and Gruev is going to be given the licence to basically make those third-man runs beyond the strikers, beyond the number 10s, into the box and try and get on the end of things like he did against Hanover. So I think whilst last season you'd go, okay, these two shouldn't really play together, I'm interested to see how it works this season. I think Farkas thought, well, these are probably our best 2 midfielders for those roles. How are we going to make them work together? And I think he's looked at them and gone, okay, Gruev's probably the one you want to send forward and leave Ampadu for the bit more stability. Ampadu as well, everything ticks better when he's in the team. He has to start. He's the club captain. So he has to start for me. He's been brilliant over the course of last season. Ever since we signed him, he's been absolutely fantastic. So Ampadu has to go in there, and Gruev's also been really, really good. So keep an eye out for the way that those two play together, because it will be different, I feel, from what it was last season. Then when we get into the attacking midfield trio, for me, Dan James on the right-hand side. I think Dan James was brilliant last season. I think he got 13 goals and 10 assists or something like that. I know he got a decent amount of both. Very, very good from him last season, and I think he deserves that chance to carry on in that right-hand side, which you'll say, okay, well, that was Nonto's position. So for me, Nonto goes out to the left-hand side. He takes Somerville's role. It's his preferred position. He's able to cut inside from that left-hand side and try and score. Dan James out on the right-hand side. Again, we talked about yesterday's video. He can stretch the play. He can make those runs in behind. And with Ampadu and Gruev playing balls over the top, you can get the defence to turn around and have to go and face their own goal whilst Leeds are then trying to put the ball into the box. So for me, the wide two have to be James and Nonto. I think those two will be brilliant together. The other thing is Jorginho through the middle. I think Aronson goes on the bench for this game, but I think Jorginho goes through the middle, and someone will say, well, okay, I thought we were going to try him out on the right-hand side this season perhaps, or I thought we were going to try something different with him. Whilst I do think that will be a good idea at certain points in the game, and I think the way that Leeds play, the fluidity will mean that they will swap around regardless, and I think there'll be rotations within that 3. Sometimes he'll drift out to the left-hand side, and Nonto will come into the number 10 role, which he's also quite good at. So don't worry about that too much, because the positions, I believe, will be fluid, and they'll go in back and forth, swapping with each other to try and give defenders nightmares. But Jorginho, again, mentioned it yesterday, picking up those positions on the inside of the box, in the outside of the box, but in those sort of inside forward positions and playing balls through. He has been playing some defense splitting passes. Could not figure that out for the life of me then. Defense splitting passes, and he has been opening up defenses in pre-season, and I think we need to give him a chance to play that number 10 role and to really develop his game as a number 10. After all, he's only in his very early 20s, so he's got so much time and chance to improve at that role that we could really mould him into a very good number 10. So for me, Jorginho goes in there. Yes, Aronson maybe feel a little hard done by. I thought he was quite good in pre-season, but what a weapon he is to bring off the bench. So I think he'll be someone we'll see perhaps later in the game against Pompey. Now, for the striker, this one potentially is a little bit more, not controversial, but controversial within the club maybe, because I think a lot of fans have been calling for this for a long time. And for me, everything I've seen of Mateo Joseph in pre-season has led me to believe that he should be the one taking this role, taking this number 9 role. He's aggressive with his running. He's aggressive with his pressing. He goes and wins the ball back. His actual striking runs, his football intelligence, the way that he moves and gets himself inside the box, the way he drops into the blind spot of defenders, he just backs off a few yards until, oh, he's gone. He makes that run. That links up with what I was talking about with Jorginho on the edge of the box, playing balls through the defence to get into him, with the overlapping wingers, the overlapping fullbacks and the wingers, getting those balls into the box. He loves to make a front post run and try and get a nick on it and take it past the keeper or take it over the keeper. I think it's a recipe for success having Mateo Joseph in there, especially with all of those ways that we can get the ball in the box. So for me, yes, Bamford. I like Bamford. I think he should be on the bench. I think he should. I know he's still kind of recovering from injuries and stuff. I think he should be on the bench, and I think he should potentially get some minutes just to try and not perhaps in this game, but over the next couple of weeks, just to try and get his fitness levels back up. But Joel Peru, I think he'll go on the bench, and I think he'll probably potentially come on later in the game. But Mateo Joseph didn't really get much time last season. He was always off the bench in the final 5 minutes, in the final 10 minutes. Give him a good chance to play 90 minutes of football against a team like Portsmouth. I think he scores. And I think Joel Peru could potentially come on later in the game and do a good job as well, because he's a decent finisher, and we know that. So that is who I would go for my starting lineup. We'll go through it again now just to make sure you've got the whole list in your head. Meslier in goal. Bogle at right back. Rodon, Strauch, Firpo make up the rest of the defence. Ampadu, Gruev in midfield. Then forward of that, you've got Dan James on the right, Jorginho in the middle, Nonto on the left, and Mateo Joseph up front. Let me know what you think, potentially if you would make any changes to that, or if you agree with what I've said about a lot of these players. Let me know down in the comments below, as usual. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, though, and I'll see you in the next one.